So why is your vision blurrier, not just darker at night, and sometimes with little starbursts around points of light? Well, it's all about your astigmatism, something that most people have at least a little bit of. See, normally, in order for us to see, we need the lens of our eyeball to focus all the light from one point on an object outside of us onto a single point on the back of our eye, the retina, in order for us to make out what that object is. Because without a lens, all of the different rays of light coming off of the object would go to all sorts of points on the back of our eye, and then you get what's called blur. And you can see here, for example, what happens if the lens is just slightly off in terms of its power, and how the rays of light don't converge exactly onto the back of the eye, but instead start to spread out again. And so now, instead of seeing a nice sharp point, that tiny point out there looks like a little circle to us. Blur. Now there's two ways we deal with this blur. The first, change the power of the lensing system with things like glasses or contacts or surgery. And the second, a pinhole. See, if we don't allow any light through except a very, very tiny point, then all the other rays of light just bounce off the eye and only one goes through to the back of the eye. This gives you clarity, but at a price, because now you can't have as much light getting to the back of your eye. So it only works if things are really, really bright. And that's what your eye does when it constricts your pupil. Basically, your visual system goes, we have enough light that we can get away with going closer to a pinhole and allowing us to get extra clarity without having to rely on an imperfect lens. And that's where your astigmatism comes in. See, an astigmatism is an imperfect aspherical lens, meaning depending on whether I'm looking at it, let's say, left to right versus up and down, I actually get different lens strengths. Which means if I wear glasses that correct for the measurement I got when I went in this direction, it doesn't fully correct for the measurement in this direction. And so you get a blur, but only in one direction and not the other. And that's typically where that starburst you see on that point of light comes from. Because at night, your pupil opens up, and now all the imperfections on your eye become more and more obvious. Whereas during the day, when the pupil is constricted, you have something closer to a pinhole camera on your head, and you don't need to rely on the lens of your glasses, contacts, and actual eye as much. And since the corrections we use, like glasses and contacts, are imperfect, they're close approximations, the errors that are remaining show up at that night time. And so the darker it gets, the blurrier it's going to get too. I hope that answers your question. Let me know in the comments what you think.